I donated $400,000 to save my brother from stage 3 cancer. I watched him go through treatment. I believed every tear my parents cried. But when I finally demanded to see his medical records, everything fell apart. He never had cancer, and my parents were willing to kill me to keep that secret. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you most, this story is going to be different. Stick around because justice was served cold. And if you're here for it, smash that like button and subscribe. You won't regret it. My name is Julie, and I'm 32 years old. For most of my life, I thought I had a normal family. Sure, my younger brother Tyler was always treated like he walked on water, but I figured that's just how some families are. Mom Catherine and Dad Peter always gave him more attention, more money, more everything. I learned to live with it. When I was 25, my grandmother Judith passed away. She was my favorite person in the world. She believed in me when no one else did. She helped me through college, listened to my problems, and told me I was going to do great things. When she died, I was heartbroken. But then came the reading of her will. She left me $800,000. I couldn't believe it. I sat in that lawyer's office, tears streaming down my face, holding a tissue in my shaking hands. My parents and Tyler were there too. The lawyer read the amount out loud, and I saw my mother's jaw tighten. My father looked at Tyler, then back at me. Tyler just stared at the table. The money was mine. Grandmother Judith had seen how hard I worked, how much I struggled, and she wanted to give me a chance at a better life. I planned to buy a house, maybe start a small business, and finally feel secure. But 3 weeks after the funeral, everything changed. I was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. The moment I walked in, I knew something was wrong. Mom was crying at the kitchen table. Dad had his arm around her. Tyler sat across from them, his head in his hands. "What's going on?" I asked, my heart starting to race. Mom looked up at me with red, puffy eyes. "It's Tyler," she whispered. He has cancer." The room spun. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. "What? No, that can't be right." Dad stood up, his face serious and pale. "Stage 3 lymphoma. The doctors found it 2 days ago. We didn't want to tell you right away because we were processing." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Tyler was only 28. He had his whole life ahead of him. What do the doctors say? What's the treatment? That's when Tyler finally spoke. His voice was quiet, broken. "They said I need aggressive chemotherapy, maybe a clinical trial. The insurance won't cover most of it. We're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars." I sat down hard. My hands were shaking. Okay, we'll figure this out. We'll sell things, do fundraisers, whatever it takes." Mom reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Her grip was tight, almost painful. "Julie, honey, we need your help. We need that inheritance money." My blood ran cold. "What? Your brother is dying," Dad said, his voice rising. "Do you really care more about money than his life?" I pulled my hand away from Mom. "Of course not. But there has to be another way. That money is for my future." "Your future?" Mom's voice turned sharp. "Tyler might not have a future." They guilt-tripped me for 3 hours that night. They cried. They begged. They made me feel like the most selfish person alive. Tyler sat there, looking weak and scared, and I felt this crushing weight on my chest. I left that night without promising anything, but I couldn't sleep. I stared at my ceiling, thinking about Tyler dying, thinking about losing another person I loved. By morning, I had convinced myself that family came first. Over the next 2 months, they kept the pressure on. They started a GoFundMe page with pictures of Tyler looking sick and tired. They posted emotional updates on Facebook, about his battle. Friends and family sent money. My Aunt Deborah donated $5,000. My cousin Olivia sent $2,000. Everyone rallied around Tyler, and they kept asking me for my inheritance. The treatments are so expensive. Mom would say every time I visited, "We've already spent $40,000. We're drowning, Julie." Finally, I broke. I transferred $400,000 to my parents' account, half my inheritance. I told myself I could still build a life with the other half. I told myself I was doing the right thing. They threw their arms around me, thanking me through tears. Tyler hugged me and said, "You saved my life, sis." But something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but a small voice in the back of my head kept whispering that something was wrong. Over the next few months, I watched Tyler go through treatment. Except he didn't look sick. He didn't lose his hair. He didn't lose weight. When I asked about it, Mom said he was on a new type of medication that had fewer side effects. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But then I started noticing other things. Tyler bought a brand new truck. Dad and Mom went on a vacation to Hawaii. When I asked about it, they said they needed a break from the stress. Tyler's wife, Lauren, was suddenly wearing expensive jewelry. I felt sick to my stomach. I tried to push the thoughts away, but they kept coming back. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. His name was Adam, and he charged me $3,000. I gave him Tyler's information and told him to find out what hospital he was being treated at. Adam called me back 3 days later. "Julie, there's no record of your brother being treated anywhere in the state. I checked every major hospital and cancer center. Nothing." My hands went numb. "That's impossible. Maybe he's using a fake name." I thought of that. I had a contact check for insurance claims. 0 cancer treatments filed under his name or your parents' names in the last year. I hung up and sat in my car in a parking lot, my whole body shaking. They lied. They lied about everything. I needed proof. Real proof. So I asked Tyler if I could come to his next doctor's appointment to support him. He said no. I asked to see his medical records. He said they were private. I asked Mom and Dad directly if I could talk to his doctor. They got angry and told me I didn't trust them. That's when I knew for sure. I spent 2 weeks gathering evidence. I contacted the hospitals myself, pretending to be verifying insurance claims. I got written statements that Tyler had never been a patient. I hired Adam again to pull financial records. They showed my parents had bought a new car, renovated their house, and deposited large chunks of money into Tyler's account. But I needed them to admit it. I needed to confront them face to face. I showed up at their house one evening unannounced. "There's no cancer," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "You lied to me. You stole from me." The room went dead silent. Then Dad's face turned red. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "How dare you accuse us of something like that?" he shouted. "I have proof." I shouted back, pulling out the hospital letters. "Tyler was never treated anywhere. You made it all up." That's when he hit me. Dad lunged across the table and grabbed my wrist, twisting it hard. I screamed in pain. He shoved me backward, and I fell against the counter. I heard something crack, my wrist. The pain was blinding, shooting up my arm like fire. Mom started yelling. Tyler just stood there, frozen, and I pulled out my phone with my good hand and hit record. "You broke my wrist." I gasped, the camera pointed at Dad. "You attacked me because I caught you stealing." Dad's face went pale when he saw the phone. Mom tried to grab it from me, but I jerked away and ran out the door, clutching my broken wrist, sobbing and shaking. I drove to the hospital. They put a cast on my wrist and asked if I wanted to file a police report. I said not yet. I had a better plan. But 2 nights later, I woke up to the smell of smoke. I ran to my window and looked outside. My car was on fire in the driveway. Flames were everywhere, licking up the sides, black smoke pouring into the sky. I grabbed my phone and ran downstairs, but the front door wouldn't open. Something was blocking it from the outside. Panic seized me. I ran to the back door. It was blocked too. They were trying to kill me. I grabbed a chair and smashed my kitchen window. Glass shattered everywhere, cutting my hands. But I didn't care. I climbed through, fell onto the grass, and crawled away from the house as my car exploded behind me. Neighbors came running. Someone called 911. I sat on the sidewalk, bleeding and crying, watching everything I owned burn. The fire department found evidence of arson. Gasoline had been poured on my car and around my doors. Security cameras from a neighbor's house caught a figure in a hoodie doing it. I knew exactly who it was. Mom tried to kill me. I moved in with my friend Olivia while I recovered. My wrist was broken, my hands were bandaged from the glass, and I had nightmares every night about burning alive. But I wasn't broken. I was furious. I went to the police with everything: the hospital records, the financial evidence, the video of Dad attacking me, the arson report. They opened an investigation into fraud, assault, and attempted murder. But I wanted more than just arrests. I wanted them destroyed. That's when I found out about Tyler's remission party. Lauren, Tyler's wife, had posted about it on Facebook. They were throwing a huge celebration to mark Tyler's cancer-free status. Over 100 people were invited: family, friends, co-workers. It was being held at a rented event hall. The post was full of comments from people congratulating Tyler and praising God for the miracle. I felt a dark, cold satisfaction settle over me. This was it. This was my moment. I contacted Detective Ethan, the officer handling my case. "I need you and your team at this address on Saturday night," I said. "I'm going to hand you a full confession in front of 100 witnesses." He was skeptical, but I explained my plan. He agreed. I spent the next week preparing. I made copies of every piece of evidence. I created a slideshow presentation with photos, hospital letters, bank statements, and the video of Dad attacking me. I practiced what I was going to say. I barely slept, running through it over and over in my head. Saturday came. I wore a black dress, kept my casted wrist visible, and drove to the event hall with Olivia and my other friend Austin for support. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. The party was already in full swing when we arrived. Balloons everywhere. A banner that said, "Congrats, Tyler, cancer-free." People were laughing, drinking, and celebrating. I walked in, and the room went quiet. Heads turned. I saw Mom's face go white. Dad froze with a drink halfway to his mouth. Tyler looked like he was going to be sick. "Julie," Mom said, her voice tight, "what are you doing here?" I smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "I'm here to celebrate Tyler's remission, of course." I walked to the front of the room where a microphone stood on a small stage. Someone had been about to give a toast. I took the microphone from their hands. "Hi, everyone," I said, my voice echoing through the room. "I'm Julie, Tyler's sister. I just wanted to say a few words about my brother's incredible recovery." Tyler stood up. "Julie, don't. Sit down, Tyler." My voice was ice. He sat. I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the projector they'd set up for showing photos. The screen lit up behind me. "You're all here to celebrate Tyler beating cancer. That's amazing. Cancer is a terrible disease. It destroys families. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to treat. In fact, I donated $400,000 of my own money to help save my brother's life." People nodded, smiling at me. Some even clapped. There's just one problem, I continued. Tyler never had cancer. The room erupted. People started talking over each other. Mom stood up, shouting, "This is insane. Julie, you need to leave." "Sit down." I clicked to the first slide. Hospital letterhead filled the screen. This is from City General Hospital, confirming that Tyler has never been a patient there. This one is from St. Mary's. This one is from the Regional Medical Center. Want me to keep going? Mom's face crumpled. Dad looked at the door like he wanted to run. I clicked to the next slide. Bank statements. This shows the $400,000 I transferred to my parents. And this shows where it went: a new car, a house renovation, deposits into Tyler's account. Funny way to spend cancer treatment money, isn't it? The room was dead silent now. Tyler's face was bright red. Lauren stood up and walked away from him, shaking her head. "But it gets better," I said, my voice starting to shake with emotion. When I confronted them with proof, "My father did this." I clicked to the video. The room watched in horror as Dad grabbed my wrist and threw me against the counter. You could hear the crack of bone breaking on the audio. Someone in the crowd gasped, and when that didn't shut me up, I continued clicking to the final slide. Photos of my burned car, my broken windows, my bandaged hands. My mother tried to burn me alive in my house. She poured gasoline around my doors and set my car on fire while I was inside. The room exploded. People were shouting, crying, backing away from my parents. Someone screamed, "Call the police." "Already here," I said. The doors opened. Detective Ethan walked in with 4 other officers. They headed straight for my parents. "Catherine, Peter, and Tyler, you're under arrest for fraud, assault, and attempted murder." Mom started sobbing. Dad tried to argue, but the officers put him in handcuffs. Tyler just stood there, frozen, as they cuffed him too. Lauren walked up to Tyler as they led him away. "We're done," she said, her voice breaking. "We're done." I watched them get dragged out of that party in handcuffs while 100 people stared in shock and disgust. Aunt Deborah came up to me, tears in her eyes, and hugged me carefully. "I'm so sorry, Julie. I had no idea." Other people apologized. Some cried. Some just stood there, processing what they'd witnessed. I stayed until the police finished taking statements. Then I walked out into the cool night air, Olivia and Austin on either side of me, and I finally felt like I could breathe. Mom and Dad were charged with fraud, assault, and attempted murder. They're both in prison now. Dad got 12 years. Mom got 15 because of the arson. Tyler was charged as an accessory to fraud. He lost his job at the bank when the story went public. Lauren divorced him and took their daughter. He's facing 3 to 5 years. I got my $400,000 back, plus damages. The courts ordered them to pay an additional $200,000 for emotional distress and medical bills. But honestly, the money doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I'm free. Free from their manipulation, their lies, their fake love. I cut off everyone who defended them. I built a new life with people who actually care about me. Some people ask if I feel guilty about destroying my family. The answer is no. They destroyed themselves. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. And the truth is that some people will burn down your entire life to get what they want. So sometimes you have to burn them first. You know what gets me about this story? Julie gave them everything: her money, her trust, her love. And they repaid her by trying to burn her alive. Some people don't deserve second chances. They deserve exactly what Julie gave them: the truth in front of everyone who matters. If this story made you feel something, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me if you think Julie went too far or if she should have done more. And if you want more stories where backstabbers get what's coming, subscribe to Revenge with Mary and turn on notifications. Because justice, it's always worth the wait. I'm Mary, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay ruthless.